Hi everybody, welcome to today's webinar, How to Streamline Your Tax Return Process with CCH Personal Tax. My name's Dean Shepherd and I'm the Senior Product Manager for our Compliance Solutions here at Wolters Kluwer. Today I'm joined by my colleague Nick Brown. He's one of our product specialists and he knows all the hidden gems within our software suite, so he's very keen to demonstrate them for you today. If you have any questions at all during the webinar, then please use the little question box to the right of your screens. Fire away as we go. I'll keep my eye on that question box, and if we can answer those as we go along, then great. If we aren't able to get through all the questions, then we can create a bit of a question and answer sheet that we'll fire out to all the attendees afterwards, so you won't miss out on those. So what's the purpose of today's webinar? Well, ultimately, it's how CCH Personal Tax can help your practice grow, how it can help you improve productivity, efficiency, and accuracy for all your tax return work. Now, today's going to be a very practical session. We're going to demonstrate some of the tools we have within CCH Personal Tax that can make your lives easier and perhaps make your next tax season the best yet. So what we'll do is we'll start by reflecting on your last tax season, share some of the common challenges that we hear from our other customers. We'll then dive straight into the software itself and show you how you might overcome some of those challenges. And then finally, what are the next steps you'll need to take if you wish to implement CCH Personal Tax in your own practice. So as a bit of a background, before joining Wolters Kluwer last year, I spent 20 years in practice, the first 10 of which was learning and applying my trade for other firms, and then the last 10 was running my own practice. And at the start of every tax season, I'd managed to convince myself that next time all our tax returns would be completed before Christmas. Now, when we inevitably failed to achieve that target, although we did get very close a couple of times, we'd always reflect on the things that we could have done differently to make the process a little better next time. Now, we played the blame game a little bit. So the first people to blame was obviously our clients. They didn't get the information to us quick enough. They didn't get the information to us accurately enough. It was always in a format that was difficult for us to get into our tax software. So we'd always begin by evaluating those data collection procedures and see what we could do to improve those and make it a little bit easier for ourselves and a little bit easier for our customers. The second people that we used to blame were HMRC. Not just because we like to blame HMRC for anything, but actually how we would access their systems, get the information that we needed out of them. And lastly, and perhaps most importantly, we would assess our technology needs and how we were leveraging the technology we had to improve our internal systems and processes. So some of the questions we'd ask ourselves, are we delivering our service consistently? So doing the same things in the same way for every client, standardizing our practice. Is there always a right way of doing things that everybody should be doing within the business? How are we managing multiple products and databases? So what headaches are we causing ourselves by maintaining multiple compliance products from different software suppliers, having to rekey data across different products, deciding which database is the master database? We had lots of manual importing and exporting, manipulating that data in between the import and export to make sure it fit. In our practice, we didn't have a single suite, so that did give us some headaches to manage. Do we have inefficient manual processes that we can automate or make paperless? We had a big drive in our practice to try and go paperless wherever we could. I know our tax teams would have had their standard February and March filler tasks whilst there isn't much work on, but you know, some of the things we did in that time, I kind of cringe a little bit now, you know, printing out a bespoke information request letter for every client and piling them up on the desk ready to post out when 5th of April came round. We'd look at those kind of manual processes and see what we could do differently. And how do we identify and correct errors early? Particularly as the workload ramps up in January, people start taking shortcuts and we risk really our reputation by letting those mistakes slip out the door and not catching them as we might otherwise have done earlier in the year. So we'd always look for opportunities for the technology to help identify potential errors, and so that those mistakes would stay in the office. So we've got a number of tools that can assist you with all those areas within CCH Personal Tax and our wider suite. So I shall now hand the controls over to Nick, who's going to take you into the software and demonstrate some of the ways that CCH Personal Tax can help.
Thanks, Dean. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name's Nicholas Brown. I'm one of the pre-sales consultants here at Waters Kluwer. My background is tax accountancy, but I've been in software on the training and support side for about 10 years. And I'm going to give you an introduction to CCH Personal Tax and go through some of these tools and features to help the process. And what I want to demonstrate today is how Personal Tax can streamline the compliance process from start to finish, and not just only from a data entry perspective, but also from the viewpoint of things like sending out covering letters to your clients, outlining their tax position, and also obtaining quick and easy document approval, allowing you to submit to HMRC without delay. We're also going to look to alleviate the issues of monitoring compliance progress using CCH Workflow, and you're able to get a real-time view directly within the software of exactly where everything is up to and who within the practice is responsible for the next step of the process. So right now, I'm looking at my Personal Tax homepage. The key thing is in the software, this is all configurable. This is my homepage. I'm logged in as Nick Brown. I can access my clients from this screen. I can search by code or name or UTR. On the right, I've got real-time 2018 filing status. I can right-click. I can change the member of the team if I'm using offices. I've got options at the bottom here to produce a summary or detailed report. And I can also export to Excel. If I just click on detailed report, this opens up this dialog. And all this is very sortable. I can quickly say, okay, let's group it by my status. So it's using real-time reporting to give me a dashboard of data that I can use very usefully in this compliance process. Another useful homepage that I've set up, and I can set up as many homepages that I'm going to find useful, is my workflow homepage. And this is my personal tax workflow. Now, this is my workflow. We do have standard templates, but they are configurable. And this is simply the steps of the process, including things like information request to the process of the whole job. And I can see at a glance where things have been, are in the process. I've got green ticks at the moment. I can right click, change the icons to show due dates, or indeed show members of the team working on those jobs and those assignments. What I've also done, which is quite interesting, because I'm using CCH Practice Management and recording time and raising fees in my practice, I've added some extra columns. And when I set up this job, I can put a budget against the personal tax compliance. So at a glance, my seniors or my managers, partners can see exactly where I am in the process, but also what the budget is and what the budget is left. So you can highlight problems straight away if it's going over budget, or indeed it's a very profitable job. So let's open up a client. I'm going to open up a client of mine called Roger Bethel, and you'll notice that Roger Bethel is in blue, is underlined as a hyperlink. Click on that and that drills down, and this is one of the strengths of CCH. It opens up a new tab, and this is my client record open. Central is a database, a true database. And this is what we like to call the 360-degree view. I open up a client, I can access everything to do with the standing data, accounts, tax, documents, everything's in one place. Our focus today, of course, is the tax returns. So I'll click on the tax returns tab and open up Roger's 2018 tax return. This will open up the personal tax homepage, and this is the interface. It is consistent. Accounts and corporation tax look the same as this. And just to break down the interface, up at the top we've got a ribbon bar with icons, and we'll be going through some of those this afternoon. Left hand side is a navigation panel. I've got my tax calculation in the main screen, and at the bottom we've got a useful review panel flagging up errors and exceptions and online filing issues. And just to complete the picture, I can also track the workflow for this one client as well, and update workflow as I go through as well. Right at the top, just to go through some useful icons, straight away I can click on View, and I can link directly to HMRC Help. So in practice, I recall going a lot to the Inland Revenue website to look at the actual notes and forms, and I can quickly access that data straight away. Now, in terms of entering data, on the left, I've got these schedules. So let's go into a common one. Most clients will have employments, and I can either access it from the left here or on the main screen. I can click on these hyperlinks. So I'll open up the employment schedule. And when this opens up, the look and feel should look familiar. It's not alien. It's the same look and feel as the actual printed return and guide in the same color layout. And hopefully it's not too alien. I can come in here and enter the data. You can also see references to the notes on the return. If I click on this 0.6, this will open up the actual SA100 onto screen. Now, in terms of housekeeping, all schedules at the bottom, you'll see a status area. I can mark something as complete. If I mark it as complete, I can save and close. On my navigation panel, it gives me a red tick to show that I've started work on this schedule in this area, but I haven't yet completed it. If I was preparing Roger's return proper and I know this is all done, I can click on reviewed. And there's a bit of an audit trail. It locks it down, reviewed by Nick Brown on that date, and it's locked. And on my tree, there's a green reviewed tick. So if I start work on this today and pick it up next week, I don't have to waste time thinking, did I enter all that data? And also from a security review point of view, I could have seniors in my practice that don't have the rights to unlock, so that effectively is locked down and can't be edited. Another tool in the software in doing this work, on my ribbon bar, I've got a working notes area. And this is where I can put internal notes that are useful. So instead of having these notes on a working paper's hard file, they're electronic notes, which I can then search and filter on in the future. I can enter notes that maybe are relating for a note for the 2019 tax year or the future tax year. So it's a useful area. Another way of entering data is I can actually view the tax return on screen and click on View Tax Return. And then if you're more familiar with the SA100, I can jump to various boxes and page numbers. So in my example here, I've just jumped to the gift aid box, note 5. And if I click on that area, this opens up to the relevant schedule. So it's useful when you're new to the software, or indeed you're doing some horrible foreign area or NIC point. So let's start the process. This client, Roger Bethel, has a business. He's a sole trader of a sole trader, and we want to get that accounting data into the system. And of course, with the integration, the accounts data will flow into tax. And just to take it a step back, we've got something called CCH One-Click, which is a cloud-based environment where we link directly to your client's bookkeeping tools that they're using. So this is another key strength of CCH. I can access One-Click from my desktop central. I've got the CCH One-Click icon. If I click on that, being cloud-based, this opens up a web browser. And there's two cloud workspaces. There's an advisor workspace and there's also a client workspace. We'll see the advisor workspace to begin with. So I'm just going to log in with my work email address as I'm the advisor, the accountant. In here, there's a set of cloud tools. My focus right now is the open integration, which is the link to clients' bookkeeping software, whether it's Xero, Free Agent, Sage One, for example. This gives me a dashboard. I'm going to just open up my list of businesses coming from my central database, and I'm going to open up Bethel Contractors, which is the sole trade of Roger Bethel, and I can see straight away this is linked to Xero. And what's basically happening is that on a daily basis, I'm getting a live feed of information from my clients' bookkeeping transactions into CCH One-Click. And that data for this example is going to flow into my accounts production to do the sole trader accounts. Going forward, it will be for income tax for quarterly reporting. So this data then flows into my accounts production. And then the accounts flow into personal tax. So this is an example of the integration. It's worth mentioning as well, with this open integration, traditionally the adjusting journals that you might do in the account software, at the year end, you would go back to your client's bookkeeping to process. Because there's a live feed, we have with control, we have synchronization of those adjusting journals. And in my business tax area, if I open up Bethel Contractors, my accounting information flows into personal tax automatically, and I can control that link between accounts and tax. Right, so some other tools in personal tax to make the compliance as efficient as possible. For those clients that have quoted shares, traditionally, I can open up this income from UK securities. You would get the vouchers, or you might not get all of them, and I would have to process them in. In our personal tax software, as part of the general package, we have the FTSE 350 data feed. So where your clients have quoted shares, I can enter that data. Once the system knows the quantity, that data flows in, and it is a big time saver year on year. It's worth mentioning as well, I can detach screens, and this tax calculation with the details of the comp as I enter information, I can actually preview this as a separate tab, and right-clicking I can detach. And in real time, as I enter new elements or change the employment figures, these numbers update in real time. So it's quite useful for planning if your client's thinking of disposing of an asset in which tax year or various scenarios. Using this real-time working, it can help all those sorts of things. Another useful tool in the process is a return review tool. On my ribbon bar, I've got a return review. If I just click on that, this opens up this useful tool. Essentially, what this is, it's really what you do on paper. When you review a return, you compare this year's to last year's. And what the system is doing is comparing the current 2018 return I'm working on to the previous one. The computer has intelligence based on variance, which you set. So if I open up employment, for example, my current employment for 2018 is 60,000. Last year it was 70,000. My variance is 10%. So the computer is automatically giving me a review point that I need to consider and adjust. And again, being a review tool, an electronic review tool, as the preparer, rather than writing notes on paper, I can add these notes electronically, and maybe my reviewer will review electronically. It helps the whole paperless move. And I can also run a useful report from my ribbon bar, which shows my review points and showing the list of my income and expenses, comparing the 2 years. So it's quite a useful way to work. And quite often clients say to me that with when they have client meetings, it can be quite a useful way to talk through the return with their client. Where clients see this year compared to last, things become a bit clearer for them. Another tool in personal tax to help the compliance is the concept of joint income, where you've got joint income, whether it's dividends or property or or interest. The system deals with joint income. And most schedules, if I open up, for example, land and property, I've got options to copy all, so I can copy the elements of the income. And for this example, I can open up my UK land and property that might be jointly owned. And in the system, and again, these schedules should look familiar, but in my details area, I can mark that it's jointly owned, and I can put in the percentage share and how that's split. So again, that is a time saver using the joint income functionality throughout. Where we are in the tax year right now, or certainly near the end of the tax year, one thing we're going to need to start thinking about are those information request letters. And traditionally, they're done on paper. People can move on to email, and you can do them in batch. Going forward, they will become more digital. But right now, let me focus on using an information request letter. So what I want to do first is just go to my clients area and run a report. I can set up lots of different report lists in the system, and I've set myself up an NB list. And I'm just going to select, I could, select a batch of clients, but right now I'm just going to select one client. But the key thing is you can run reports to do this in bulk. And on my ribbon bar, we've got a mail-email merge option. And as I said, the evolution is going to be requesting this digitally, which is in the system right now. Let's look at the way that a lot of clients will still be using this. So I'll click on mail or email merge. Throughout our software, we have wizards to guide you through, and of course we have information, things that people can print out and work through, because I appreciate you don't always want to just use it online. So I'll run through these steps. I'll do a letter. Step 2, I just need to click on query and say I'm running an information request. Select the relevant year. So let's go for 2019. And we have some various templates. What I want to do with my information request, I want to include prior year details. I quite like to have that look and feel of my information request, but there are different options you can choose. And then going through these steps of the wizard, these are just data from Central that I'm just going to accept as the defaults. Select the one that I want to produce, if there was a number there. And with the integration of CCH Central, it's going to be stored automatically into my CCH document management system. So I'll just put a description there. So it's a process going through that wizard. And this now is going to mail merge the data from my client information, from the tax information, including last year's numbers, and create my information requests. And of course, I can do that in batch, and I can do it by letters to print out, pop in the post, or I can PDF and email these information requests. And we can see last year's amounts. And because I sent that to automatically save into document management, it's now part of that file for that client. So quite an easy process to produce that. Obviously, these information requests can be tailored, and there is configuration options there. If I go back to my client tab, just to show you where it lives in document management, I'm in Roger's record. We have a document center area. I've got different various assignments, effectively folder structures, and I can see the information request that I've just generated.
I have a question, Nick. Is it possible to send that information request digitally, or are we printing out a physical letter and posting it to clients?
Yeah, good question. I can print the letters to paper. I can PDF it and email it. And then the evolution is we have digital requests. The information requests is part of the new environment. Does that answer that question?
Yeah. So just to make people aware, we've got this new set of digital data collection tools that we're going to be releasing in April, so that it's another option for you to consider when collecting tax return information from your clients. So it works in exactly the same way as Nick has demonstrated today, but rather than click on the mail merge button, we've got information request button, and what that will do is send an email to your client with a link to their client side workspace within CCH One-Click, and that will be populated with information very similar to what Nick's shown you in the physical information request letter. So they'll be able to see line by line a summary of every item that appeared on their tax return in the previous year, and then rather than collating some paper documents or sort of emailing everything to you, they can simply fill out the figures into the digital data request and attach any PDFs or make any comments that they feel necessary, and they'll be able to send you that information directly. So we will be running a separate webinar to cover everything that the digital information request does, so we can take you through that in a bit more detail. If you haven't registered for that, then we will send out a link to everybody after this webinar, so you can sign up for that one, and that's going to run on March the 7th, and we'll also make a copy of that available to view if you're unable to make it live.
Thanks, Dean. Right, another very useful tool is something called a tax return bundle. So this is when my return is ready for approval for my client. Traditionally, in my practice, we would generate the comps. I might even have exported it to Word to change how the partners wanted it to look, save that, go to Word and go to last year's letter and do that process. Obviously, that can be quite time consuming. What the tax return bundle is, it is what it really says it does. It bundles everything up, and on my ribbon bar here, I've got the tax return bundle. There is a little bit of configuration in terms of everyone likes to wants to see how their letter looks, and you can configure the paragraphs. You can also decide as a practice what goes into the bundle in terms of the comps and the schedules. But if I just click on Create Bundle, this is generating the return, the schedules, it's mail merging the correct tax information, the tax position. And in my example, this bundle right now is 26 pages long. It is quite long because there's lots going on with this client in terms of the different supplementary pages and schedules. And my covering letter is quite brief. Yours will be a lot more comprehensive. A lot of clients will have a nice table showing the payments on account. But effectively now, this bundle, there's a number of ways how we might want to communicate this to the client. It can be printed off in one go and popped in the post, or maybe you'll have a client meeting. I can PDF this and email this to my clients. But of course, the evolution is to publish this to our collaboration portal in CCH One-Click, where my client can receive this and then can electronically approve it. So let me show you that process. On my ribbon bar, I've got publish to One-Click. So if I click on that, this is generating that bundle and opening up my area called the message center, where I send things to the cloud. So from Nicholas Brown to Roger, it's attached this tax return bundle. At this point, I could open up my document management center and attach any other documents, whether it's CCH or not. Perhaps if I was being really efficient, I would send the bill at the same time. So I'll just attach another document. Because I want my tax return signed, I'm going to click on this requires approval. Then, a bit like an email, I'll type in a subject and a message. Because a tax return approval letter is a common thing, I've got some little templates that I can configure to speed up the process, which just brings in some standard text. Of course, I can edit this Now, in real life, maybe I wouldn't be sending this directly to the portal for my client. I might send it to a colleague to review first before it gets published. But for this example, I am the manager. And then I'll just click on send. And in real time now, that's going off to the cloud, going off to CCH OneClick. So relying on the internet connection.
Whilst we're waiting for that, Nick, we have had a question come through asking about whether you can configure those information request templates or the Word documents.
Yes, they are highly configurable. And in fact, for our existing clients, we are running a session. I haven't got the date to hand, a session by a professional services team to go through that whole process and configuring them. So we do have online help, we do have guides, and you can have real-time help as well. So that's been sent.
I believe that's happening on the 25th of March, Nick.
25th of March, great, thank you. Thank you. Right, so that message has been sent, and just to see where I've got a record of that, in my client record, I've got a message center tab, and I can see in real time, 20th of February, 14:30, a record of that message going to the portal with the attached documents. And if I am using document management, it will be saved in my document management system as well. So let me pretend to be my client. I'm Roger now. So I'm just going to minimize my CCH Central and open up my web browser again. What Central does, it does send Roger a notification email, and then that email goes to Roger for him to click on a link to go to the gateway to OneClick. So he either gets a notification email, that link could also be on your website, or it could be on one of Roger's favorites. So I'm going to open up the OneClick gateway. And I mentioned there was two sites. There's an advisor site and a client site. I'm now going to log on as a client. So I'm going to put in Roger's email address. Put in Roger's password. It's all fully secure. If Roger or your clients forget the passwords, they shouldn't be ringing you up. They should be clicking on forgotten password. This now is the dashboard for the client. It's less busy. There's less things going on. Our focus right now is the messages and documents side. But this is where, going forward, the digital data requests, where we're requesting data. I can add a tile. If Roger uses a cloud bookkeeping system like Sage 1, I can add that tile. And the idea is this is a cloud workspace that Roger can send and receive messages and documents to his accountant. He can access his cloud bookkeeping system. When quarterly reporting kicks in, there'll be sort of timelines, and the advisor will know exactly what's going on. The client will know what's required of them and give reminders. But let's open up the messages and documents area. So this is my home page. It's very intuitive. I've got various sections. So the home page is telling me I've got 5 documents to approve. So we've got some 1,000 messages really. I've got my messages area. The message I just sent is in bold because I haven't yet read it. And it's flagging up that it needs some action. I want my client to approve that tax return. And there is also a folder structure. I can configure this as the practice, and I've set up these. And the idea is over time, I will put my final sets of accounts, final tax returns. And if the client needs that for their records or for other reasons, again, hopefully they might stop ringing you for that. They'll know that it's all stored on the portal. There are also some useful tutorials. Human nature is that clients don't necessarily watch the tutorials, but there is help on using the portal. Question from Dean.
We've had a question. Can you choose that folder structure, the names of those folders there, or is that how they come out of the box?
No, yeah, it is all configurable, and I could add a CGT folder. I could add a permit. Some clients get copies of clients' passports and have that so they can access that sort of data from the cloud, yeah, it is configurable. It is quite a useful tool. So opening up the message, the client can see the message generated in Central. I can access the documents. Quite sensibly, your clients can't respond either negatively or positively without actually viewing the document. It needs to be viewed. And this is quite a good audit trail in the month of December, January. So if your clients haven't yet responded, you can track that they've actually accessed the document and viewed it. So I can open up the PDF and the client can obviously view that electronically. They could print it out or whatever. And that obviously can be a set of accounts, a tax return, or any other document. It doesn't just have to be a CCH generated document. And then the process would be the client would select the document, and then the approval process, if I click on approve, there's no physical signatures, of course, anymore. The client has to retype in their password, which is the approval process agreed by HMRC and Companies House, and then that approval flows back into Central. And
so Nick, we've got another question here. Can you get it to remind clients that they still need to respond to documents sent for approval if they haven't done so?
Yes, again, that's configurable. I could set it up that when I send a message, if there's no response, they will get a reminder email in 7 days or 14 days, or exactly how I want to set it. And of course, there is that balance of chasing them but not pestering them. But yeah, I can control that. And this, of course, is a two-way collaboration. Roger could come to the portal at any point, click on new message, and send to the team member a message, a document, a backup to their bookkeeping. It's a way of communicating and collaborating with the accountant. So that's enough of being Roger. Let me minimize that and go back into Central. When messages come through, I'm in Roger's record, I'm in the message center, I can see the approval, I do get pop-ups. I've also set up a useful home page that I've configured for all my portal messages for my clients or my practice. But also a lot of our clients like to configure it that I get an email. So if a client sends a message, sends a document, or approves a document, I also get an email in my inbox. So if something's put on the portal that is urgent, I will be flagged up with it. So that was highlighting CCH one-click, and hopefully you can see the client side as well as the advisor side. Finally, I just want to talk a couple of things in personal tax and with Central as well to help the process. One of the functions of Central is the reporting element, and we have useful reports. So if I click on the reporting area, we have a whole range of standard reports which are configurable. If I just go to my personal tax area, I've got some reports. Actually, sorry, I just want to go to smart reports first. There's two ways of reporting. So smart reports for personal tax, some standard reports on payments, etc. And how this has evolved in our software, we've also got a new area called reporting, and this is where we can do reports across the suites of Central, the functions of Central, cross-suite reporting. There is a little wizard that I can use. It's a nice interface to create reports. So if I wanted to find out which of my clients have rental income over a certain amount, I can run reports for marketing purposes, for just managing my portfolio efficiently. Let me just go to a ready-made report. So in this area, I've got some standard personal tax reports in various sections, and I've got a total income report, a 5-year report. And you can get quite whizzy with reports. And again, we have e-learning and support to help you go through these wizards to produce these reports. But reporting is a powerful tool within Central. And finally, in personal tax, I just wanted to mention, of course, the digital tax account, which is relevant. Within Personal Tax, you'll notice on my ribbon bar I've got a DTA button, and that links the digital tax account. So obviously information held by HMRC on things like employment, pension income, marriage allowance, etc. And I can view that information and use that in my tax return. Again, with CCH One-Click, one of the tools is to, this data is digital, and of course, being it digital, I don't need to rekey that into personal tax. So this has just opened up my one-click environment for Roger. I can view what's held on the digital tax account, and with control, I can decide what to flow and commit to personal tax, and I don't have to rekey that information in. So again, it's quite a big time saver, which will save you time going forward in the future tax years. So this is just opened up, looking at what's held on the digital tax account, and I've got options here to decide what to use and what to send to the tax return, and that's all part of CCH One-Click. So to conclude my element, why choose CCH Personal Tax? The key areas for me are automation and integration, and hopefully you can see the examples of automation with CCH workflow and tracking tasks, the automatic pull through of accounts from accounts production, and also getting the bookkeeping data from the client's bookkeeping software automatically, and also the production of those tax return letters and helping you in that process. So let me pass you back over to Dean to close this session.
Thanks, Nick. I hope that's given you a broad overview of CCH Personal Tax and the tools that we've got in there that can make your tax season a little bit smoother next time around. I think it's really just that the things we've shown today are really just scratching the surface of what CCH Personal Tax can do. It's highly configurable to your working practices in your own setup. So I think to sort of give a broad overview of the five reasons, perhaps now is the time to look at using CCH Personal Tax if you're not already doing so. It's really the ability to give you a consistent service delivery to all your clients, so you can standardize the practice, make sure you're doing the right things in the right way for all your customers. The seamless integration across our entire product suite, so we do have compliance tools for all areas of your compliance work, so accounts, personal tax, corporation tax, audit, and they all integrate with each other without having to do extensive imports and exports or mess around with CSV files. Gathering that tax return information quickly and efficiently, it's always very important to give you a smooth tax season and take the pressure off in January if you can get that information from your clients quickly and easily. And part of that is obviously giving you the tools to send those requests out, but also giving your clients the tools to be able to get that information back to you quickly and easily, so it makes their lives a little bit easier. So the easier we can make things for them, then the more likely you're going to get the information you need back. And of course, identifying errors early, reducing risk of those errors leaving the office, going out to your clients, and of course negatively affecting your reputation with your clients. We've got tools in there that can help you identify those. And of course, it is all about completing and filing accurate tax returns. And if we can sort of systemize and automate as much of those processes as we can, then that's going to make for a more efficient tax season for you. So what are the next steps? If you're an existing CCH Central user, then CCH Personal Tax is just another product that we can add to your suite. So do get in touch with your account manager if you need any more information or want to start that process in time for the next tax season. If you're not yet using CCH Central at all, then you can contact us for more information through the usual channels. All the contact details are on the website, and you can also book a one-on-one demonstration or speak to somebody about your individual needs. The last thing to say really is thanks for joining us. I hope you found that webinar useful and that's given you a bit of information if you've not seen CCH Personal Tax before, or perhaps if you have seen it but weren't perhaps utilising all the functionality that we've got in there. As I mentioned earlier, if there are any questions that we weren't able to cover in the session, then we'll send out answers to those directly, and we'll also follow up with a little bit more information to help with your forthcoming tax season in 2019. So thanks everybody for joining us. Thanks Nick for presenting all the software, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.